What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NFT Pirates. Whenever you see Silicon here, you know it's going to be a big one. And today we actually brought in a new person. This is VEVE Magic, who's more than established all over Twitter, who is my Disney expert and Silicon's go-to for a lot of Disney information. And today's episode is going to be on all things Disney. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm excited to let you guys feed off these two experts. So what's up? How's it going?
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
It's great to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
lots,
Disney
lots
gets
of,
me going, guys. Like you just bring up Disney and I'm in, all in.
Yeah, I can see with the hat in the background. I'm seeing Walt Disney's face, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I got a few pretty cool collectibles. Most of my stuff I have is just, stuff you can get at the parks, but this guy back here is like my prized possession. I've got a picture back there that's authenticated as signed by Walt Disney, like a first edition photo. A lot of history in the parks. It's showing you like the original park map, obviously a picture of his likeness, how we used to get the coupon books, and you would have your tickets for your e-ride attractions. You'd get admittance into the parks, but then on top of that, you would be like, buy this coupon book, and it would let you go on a specific amount of rides. And E being your like Space Mountain and Matterhorn, whereas like A might be, the carousel. So yeah, that's some really cool history back there.
it's like an old school fast pass or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Awesome.
Unreal.
Yeah.
It's funny because I know I saw like Silicon recently going and collecting all these new DC collectibles. I think you got like 7 or 8 this past weekend. I'm like, all these adults are now, like stocking up. It's pretty damn cool to see.
Yeah, we're it's kind of funny because like Sanjay and Spaces, if you guys don't know him, he's on Twitter. He's been able to complete series 1 through 5 of all the physical statues. And so now that we're getting the statues, we're like, okay, let's match up serial numbers. So I've got one I've matched up on Harley Quinn 19, which is pretty awesome. So I have the digital with the physical. And then I got one on the way that I'm working with someone for Todd, which is pretty exciting, coming from all the way from the Netherlands.
Wow.
So we've got, so you're actually helping me out with that one. And yeah, we've got, it's sort of like, this is just the way the collectors think, right? They stack stuff and they're like, oh crap, I'm trying to match this stuff up. And, that last AMA with David Yu, we're at a point where essentially, he had mentioned digital clones for toys, right? So essentially we're at a point where we're creating that demand for digital clones, and the toy industry is taking notice, and their $94 billion market a year, right, is taking notice that, hey, these NFTs are actually driving physical purchases, and it's clear by what I'm looking at in my office. I got boxes and boxes of collectibles, and it's looking like a warehouse in here as we try to match these mints up and try to stack them up. And I got to figure out, am I going to get a display or something, or what am I going to do with all these collectibles? I got them in boxes, so I don't want to open. That's the other thing. I don't want to open them up, so I don't know the serial number till I open them up, and it's just this, this collector mental battle situation going on.
Yeah, how do you feel about that though? Like not knowing what your mint number is. You don't. I get what you're saying. When you open it, you may lose value, right? But yeah, you don't get to see what do you have.
Surprise, like it's a surprise. I bought a bunch of Mike Mignola Japanese variants. There's only 500 statues, and I'm like, okay, look, I have 8 of them now. So it's like, it's kind of cool. It's just like on VEVE where we're all fighting to get the last of the retail priced items before you have to buy them on eBay for triple the price or whatever. So yeah, I'll eventually, I'm sure, open them. It'll be a fun thing every time I open one, like like scratching a lottery ticket or something.
Cracker Jack box.
Yeah.
A little more expensive though.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, it's like a pretty funny if all of a sudden you open it and then you see that you have like your lowest minted Todd is like aligned with your physical counterpart. Like how crazy, like that's possible.
That's
yeah. And I know VEVE Magic, I know you have a ton of other collectibles that we were chatting about. And my thing is like with all this Disney stuff coming out, and if people can actually match it up with all these variations of physical counterparts, like for instance, Steamboat, Steamboat Willie, like I think you showed me the Lego Steamboat, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, which I got even more jazzed about because of a comment I saw that David Yu did on Instagram talking about, licensing and the rights to this intellectual property. And, Lego was established in like 1934, and they released this collectible, which Silicon actually gifted me. Very grateful for that. In 2019. So it took them that long to come out with this set that they were able to like get the okay. I mean, who knows how that went down. And VEVE comes out with it as like their second Disney drop. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How does that happen? This is like their most iconic thing that Disney's ever done. This is the birth of Mickey Mouse.
Right.
That's huge.
Did I
It
not
may
hear
have
that?
the FA tag, but this is like our FA. This is very historical in terms of Disney. It all started with a mouse. There he is, guys, and we got him.
Didn't we hear that that was supposed to be the FA, but they didn't have it ready in time? I mean, did you hear that? I heard that in Spaces. So I don't know if that's.
I heard that. And I saw David Yu said this is a key, like quote unquote NFT. And I think that's accurate. Like, I think if that would have came out first as the first appearance, I mean, I don't even want to know what the price would be, but
Face melting.
you see there's a petition going now too for like making it first edition.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a
I feel like I saw that.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. Well, that's good. So I'm excited to tap into some of this Disney knowledge. So I mean, for starters, like how important is the Disney golden moments? Like, are people overlooking this, or is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've like gone down my own journey of, a little bit of FUD with everything and not knowing this space. Like I'm not an NFT person. I'm not a crypto person. Silicon got me into this and was really just trying to get me to be a believer. And, I went on my own journey of like how comfortable I felt. And it's even day to day in the last couple of weeks, I'm just putting more and more pieces together. And it's just making so much sense to me of how important these pieces are. And just, it's wild. There's videos coming out and people get a little scared of the video. And I go, oh no, this just made me even more thrilled. Like, just give me all you got, guys. I'm not going to have any FUD about golden moments now. I'm kicking myself that I don't have more, to be honest.
Yeah.
That last video got me hyped. I saw that video and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, regardless of who this person is or what's going on, we won't spend a lot of time on that video, but I'll just say that like the one thing that was the quote unquote from the video that I took away was, this is hodl, right? Like he pretty much said hodl. So his instincts were right, whether or not, he was happy about the situation. I mean, who knows? But
Yeah.
it was clear that
the previous Disney exec video, right?
Yeah, like the 8 years ago Disney exec video. And yeah, okay. I mean, that's better credentials than I have at this point, so it's all good. But at the end of the day, it was like, yeah.
What are the kids saying? Hodl?
Yeah, and he was upset that Disney gave away so much value, right? So if we think about, he's upset about Disney giving away value of the first collectibles, and then he, anyway, then we should even be more jazzed, right, about how amazing these are, because these are the first NFTs that Disney has released on the blockchain. They're all golden. They're all one set. Right now we're fighting over, okay, this one's 6,000, that one's 7,000. Walt's 42,000 today. 42 point something. I mean, last time we did our interview was that 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Walt was 13,000, right? So in 2 weeks, Walt almost 3 point something X's, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How is that? What happened? What changed? And we saw that huge pump in the market. That was exciting. We're seeing 3 to 4 million gems, somewhere, come in a day into the app. So we're seeing a lot of liquidity come in, and at this point, people are FOMO buying, trying to position, trying to figure out, okay, is it Walt? Is it this golden moment? Is that? I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it is, right? Like that set, if you can get any pieces of that set, and I'm actually, like kind of scratching my head right now. Okay, do I sell another Todd? Do I sell some more stuff? To stack more golden moments, and it's like trying to find that right balance. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm at least happy I have my 8 Waltz and my 8 steamboats, my ultra rares, and then I'll just kind of stack around that and see, what else I can do. So
amazing.
Yeah, I've been like chasing, trying to get a second Walt, and it's like I get within reach, and then he climbs away again, and then I get within reach, and he climbs away again, and then I'm that person that can't stop looking at the market, and so I'm just browsing the market, and then I find a Pixar truck that matches my Walt. I'm like, at floor, gotta get it. I gotta get it.
It's nonstop.
Yeah, I'm like, well, There went Walt gems again.
Yeah.
Oh well.
And being
Yeah, but
so
let's talk about that for a second. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Chad, interrupt you. But think about it. If you're able to match your Walt to any golden moment set, right? That may increase the value of the two. I think, significantly the more that you're able to match up. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chad, with whatever you're.
No, I mean that was actually on the point. What I was going to say is like, you imagine now getting repeating mints or low mints and being able to like I don't even know what the value of some of these things is going to be. And I remember the conversation we're having recently is just how crazy Disney fans are. Like I remember you telling me about like people waiting 8 hours in line for like
a popcorn bucket.
You have one next to you, right? You want to show us some of those popcorn buckets?
So I've got a couple. My favorite too, especially now given the drops we've had, I got our beloved pair here of steamboats. And there's actually that boat that was released in like Tokyo. Tokyo has the best merch, by the way, like really good merch. They have the actual boat and it is so stinking cute, but yeah, I don't have that.
So cool.
Yeah, so I have a few buckets and just other I also have this one. This one's pretty cool, guys.
That's so badass.
Yeah.
Plenty of
and they're like, where do you put the popcorn? It's like, oh, right here. Put your whole hand in there. Pretty nifty. But yeah, I looked real special walking through the airport with this thing around my neck. All right, I own it. No, but talking about mints too, we've got a friend in our Discord group that he's got, what does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on R2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I might have the numbers not correctly paired, but he has the full consecutive
Matching
2 R2s.
like all the way up. Yeah,
that's a good set.
Yeah. Well, the
even
fact
though
that
it's not the 2 of them, but 2 R2s with the same number, like that sequential is massive.
Yeah, and R2 is like 7.2K last I checked on the market, and it ran up in the last pump to almost 10K, or I don't know if it went over 10K, but it was up there.
It was up there. My buddy actually, I forget what he traded for it, but he got the matching mints for the Star Wars set, number 179.
Wow.
And I was like, the year it came out was the 77, right? But it's still a pretty significant like last mint. So I was pretty happy for him. But I'm like, man,
and
like
low.
those are, oh yeah. And those are things you just want to hodl forever. And I know there's some other specific Disney mints that we've been talking about. I'm not sure how much we want to give away, but there's
Spill it.
Spill the beans.
Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about another thing in watching the video you did with David Yu. I got so jazzed when he started talking about the Goldens and how he said his favorite was the Pixar truck, not pizza truck. And I'm like, yes, finally, like validation I needed, because that, aside from Walt, that and Elsa are my 2 favorites, personal favorites, because Pixar is the team behind Pixar. They're geniuses. They love what's called Easter eggs in Disney. And the Pixar truck is the Easter egg of all Easter eggs. Like there's little ones here, like you'll find Mickey in movies and stuff that you didn't know where he was. But the truck is like huge. I mean, they put a truck in Finding Nemo under the water. I mean, like it's crazy. Like, but the other one that I was with Silicon and we actually kind of went through this buy purchase together is he was sort of just mint shopping one day and he's like, what do you think about this mint? And I like thought he was joking. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is the best mint you could get for the truck, in my opinion. And it's number 113 because A113 is a huge Easter egg. It corresponds to the animation class that a bunch of these guys went to. I don't want to get any names wrong, so let me refer to these names, but it was at the California Institute of Arts. And you have people like Brad Bird, John Lasseter, Tim Burton, that all went to this same school and were in this same class. So it's like their inside joke that they put in movies. For example, in The Simpsons, which I didn't even know this until I did a little bit more research. So like it's gotten me jazzed to be doing even more digging, right? It's on Bart Simpson's mugshot, A113.
Wow.
So you get a skateboard, you get Bart and Homer 113, you're solid. So yeah, Silicon's got 113 truck, and it's been 113 is in almost every single Pixar movie and Disney movies and Simpsons. I mean,
I'm so jealous. Where were you like 2 months ago? Where I could have I would have paid a heavy consulting fee to be like, okay, what do I need? Like that.
You know what's so funny too is I've been around since March. I got in pretty early. And I just sort of like hung out in the background and just like slowly matured into my collecting level within the app and like getting more and more hungry for it. And it really wasn't until Disney came out that I was like, okay, I'm all in. I want to know everything I can know. I started listening to spaces, but I just hid in the background. Like that's kind of more my comfortable zone. I've actually only done spoken in 4 spaces, maybe like the last 4 days. And but this has just gotten me like so energized, and I love talking about it. I'm happy to like share information with people. Like I'm just very, very passionate about the subject. And I just, we all win by sharing more and more knowledge. And that's all, like, let's all win in this,
Yeah. I got the same philosophy in VEVE Magic. I mean, formerly Omi is my homie. Again, there were some in case your girl is like, who the heck is VEVE Magic? But I kicked off my first spaces on Friday on Twitter, or last Friday, and brought her on. I said, we're just talking like we're talking right here. I said, well, we're spitting all this knowledge. Let's just open up a spaces. So we open up a spaces, and before we have 100 people in the spaces, and we're talking about Disney, and we're just getting everyone's getting each other amped up about it. We're talking about pin trading and how crazy the pin traders are, and waiting in line at Disneyland for the tickets. Like when Disneyland reopened, you were waiting 8 hours online to be able to buy a ticket.
I watched a graphic of Space Mountain and a little roller coaster going round and round and round for 8 hours, guys. I thought I was going to go insane. Yeah, the people are hungry, man. And I've talked about that a lot recently too, is going back to like the fudding, like why, there was this like everything hung out for a while, right? These prices that were pretty darn low. And everyone's like kind of looking at each other like, well, why? Well, like, why are you not buying? Well, why are you not buying? Why is nobody like latching onto these? And I feel like it kind of comes down to like, well, Disney's not like really owning it yet. Like, I don't know, like, is this a big deal? Is it not? And just as I've gone on and all this, I'm like, I'm so happy that Disney hasn't said anything, because they let out one cat out of a bag and people go insane. I mean, talking about waiting in line in front of my computer for 8 hours to get a 1-day ticket to go to the park once in my life, once COVID restrictions lifted and the parks reopened. That's just for a ticket. That's not for like a grail item, And it's like, once they like just do the slightest little tweet or whatever, I mean, it is game over, in my opinion.
Wow. Why is it so hidden? Like, why do you think there hasn't been more kind of attention from their end? Is it because, potentially like the metaverse, or I don't know.
We saw what happened when we got the release, right? We sort of crashed VEVE. Like,
right.
Like, and that was like, he was like, oh, okay, we weren't ready for that. I mean, if Disney were to say anything about it, what do you think that would do? Like I just don't think they're ready yet for like that sort of marketing behind it. I mean, it's going to be amazing when that happens, but it's like, we need to wait until we've got some higher mint numbers so that people are going to be able to get stuff, because you see how everybody is frustrated now with not being able to get drops. Yeah. I mean, imagine when we have 10 million more people and you have 50,000 editions or 100,000 editions or even 200,000 editions. Like, it's just, the demand is going to be so high. So I'm kind of happy that it's under wraps, and just the more and more research I've been doing, the more that I just firmly believe in the relationship and partnership. I've talked a lot about, I kind of imagine myself being a fly in the wall of those meetings between VEVE and Disney's sitting there like, all right, why you guys? Now you've got obviously a great team. We know like who the team is made up of. But then I'm thinking, you've got David Yu, who is a master collector in his own right, and he understands that market so well. He knows the value of pieces. Like, he just knows significance behind things. Like, he's just so bright with that kind of stuff. I just see Disney being like, oh, he gets us. Like, he just totally gets us. Right. And I'm really hoping that there has to be Imagineers in on these meetings, because Disney, of course, is going to want to be like, well, we want to say in what you're putting out. We want to know what it's going to look like. We want to talk about vision. What are we going to do in the future with all this stuff? Speculation. And I'm just like really hoping that Disney has been, or VEVE, or both, has been cataloging all of this, because this is going to make one badass documentary. Like,
How lucky are we, right? Like Silicon,
I'm
like
telling you guys.
people don't know what's at stake here. I mean, could you imagine when it first came out, Elsa was like $200?
I mean, yeah, I
I bought
mean,
her for 200. They got her for like
Yeah.
273. I'm like, easy.
I thought I got enough, but I didn't, right? Because we saw that in that first week, there was that gem squeeze every single day, right? So it was sort of like, and then people were looking at decon. So you had this wave up and down every day of prices all the way to Walt. And then after Walt was done, it was like, then all that pressure released. And I kind of feel that in the market right now, actually, with kind of what we're leading up to at Saturday. And now we've got a Marvel drop on Friday, right? With Spider-Man, these Spider-Man Marvel drops, which, you know, these kids are going to love this stuff. I mean, adults.
Have you even looked at the market since this has been announced? This has been announced within like an hour of us chatting. So like, who knows what's happening with the market right now? It's probably not very pretty.
Yeah.
Well, and people are stacking too. I think that's the other thing is I'm hearing, at least on the space, is that people are changing their strategies up and they're like, hey, I'm going to stack comics. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to, you know, not back myself into a corner with having just one collectible of each, because you realize that, you know, those collectibles appreciate, and then you want to be able to take advantage of the next market activity, right? Like I want to be able to jump into Mickey and Friends and say, you know, what's going on here. Now we don't know the mint number. That's speculation, but you know, I have kind of one of two ideas. Like either it's going to be like a Valentine's Day kind of card where I can, you know, but they're going to have a high mintage and I can just send it to family and friends, which would be like actually a really cool promo idea if they did that. And then the other, you know, and that would actually cause the market to probably pump because everyone's going to go, oh, there's lots of additions. We have plenty of time. Let's go back in the market. All these gems that have been shoving in are then they're going to be put to action, right? Because everyone keeps yelling gem squeeze, and then people are pushing over to OMI, right? So like, mutable, it's here. And, you know, people are trying to get their OMI over to their wallets and trying to get it in layer 1 or layer 2. And there's this big push of like panic almost of like positioning, right? And I think that VEVE is just going to keep turning that dial up because David, you and team have made it really clear that we're not going to try to like, you know, over print some editions. Like in this one, I could see like it's a Valentine's Day possible kind of thing. They might say, okay, yeah, let's print the Mickey and Friends and make a lot of those. But overall, he wants to keep the collectibles valuable, right? Mm-hmm. So he's going to force you to go to your corner, right? Okay, you love Spider-Man, go to your corner. You love Marvel stuff, okay, stay over there. You love, you know, Tokidoki, all right, get in your corner, right? Like you love Mickey, go over here, right? Like so there's this decisions that people have to make where before they were trying to complete sets of everything. And now they're really trying to pick their zones and figure out where do I get the most ROI. And so there's all these debates on, okay, well, which golden moment do I buy? You know, just buy any golden moment you can get that you like, right? Like at the end of the day. So, you know, and of course, you know, mint numbers matter. So with me, you know, I spent a lot of time mint hunting, right? When I was picking my mints, but like there was a trade-off, right? Because, you know, certain mints aren't as liquid as floor mints, right? And so there's like this balance of like, how do you balance your collection so that you have floorable items when you need liquidity, but then you also have the extremely valuable items like the Fixer Truck 113, which I'm like super happy about. I'm like, this thing is like, thank you for like guiding me in the right direction, because
that was a high above floor price at the time. And you're like, oh, it's, you know, it's this price. And I was like, worth it. And now the floor is like right around there, like what you bought it at or something.
Yeah, it's like, now the truck's 1.8. Okay, and it's below, you know, what I mean, my purchase is below the floor at this point. So, you know, and that's a pretty significant mint. But I think at the time, yeah, the floor was, you know, 400 or 500 gems, right? But when you're making that decision, you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop 2,000 gems, or you know, it was 1,600 gems is what it cost me, right? So I'm going to drop 1,600 gems into an item. You're like, okay, you're thinking, is this mint worth it? How important? How significant is it? Is this worth not having that extra liquidity, or not buying, you know, let's say four trucks, right? 4 floor trucks. And, you know, I would have had that rise in trucks, but at the same time, what is that mint worth? So, you know, I think it's kind of a priceless mint, and based on the story and even the commercial that I think, Chad, I sent you a commercial that they did on it for like one of the, you know, VHS tapes or something, or DVD.
Amazing. I mean, what a find. And I mean, you know, when we talk about special mints, I think I told you this, but there was a partner that almost went for $500,000, and it was the person denied it. This is through one of my escrow buddies, but you know, we'll keep it confidential as who these people were, but like that's just how important some of these iconic mints are to people, right? And I mean,
dates are
and
huge.
they're
All that
huge.
kind of stuff. And what the great thing about Disney too is there's like almost no wrong date. Okay. So like it can be somebody's birthday, it can be an anniversary, it can be the year that they went to Disneyland for the first time and fell in love. That's like a separate category, that those are special to people. Then you got the mints of like, my favorite movie was this year. And then you've like, we haven't even talked about 33. Like, that's in a league of its own. You can get the number 33 in any mint. I don't even care if all the other numbers are different, but having a 33 is iconic as well because of the club that exists at Disneyland and other parks.
Do any of you have those mints, like 1333 or something? Or
I know someone does.
Yeah, you have a few, right?
I bought I have some 33s, like in the Mickey
Yeah.
Common. I have 330. I think I mentioned that on the last. Did I mention on the last
Okay.
interview? Where I was scrolling down and everyone's like, "Why are you passing all these mints?" Because, well, guess what? 330 is the only one that looks like 33, right? And so again, you think about how prestigious Club 33 is. Oh, and by the way, there's 1901 at Disney California Adventure. Right. 1901 is Walt's birthday, but it's also a club, on the other side of the park, right?
It's 33's counterpart.
Yeah. Wow. And so like, these dates, or like we talked about 1955 when Disneyland, opened, right? And so these, you got to think about, okay, these are significant dates, but even if you got one of these golden moments, these may be significant to other people collecting those dates that are trying to match the setup, right? So when you try to think of trading and leverage, what you're trying to do is get in a position where maybe you have some stuff that other people want, and maybe they have stuff that you want. And if we think of that utility coming to VEVE, if you have some decent mints that other people want, then you can do a trade to get the stuff that you want, right? So I mean, it sounds real simple, but it really is important, because if you just have floor mints and you come to me with something that I don't really care about, when my collection's 10x from here, then I might just be like, yeah, okay, but I'm not gonna release a special mint for you, right? I'm not gonna downgrade, right? And we've seen that actually, VEVE Magic, you kind of mentioned that to me when we've been chatting, when you're trying to do trades, like kind of what you're seeing as far as actions when you're trying to trade up to Walt, for example.
Yeah, it's like I've got a decent catalog of items, but my grail list is limited. And for me, I'm not willing to sacrifice any of my goldens, even if the mint isn't that great, unless I'm going to get, a golden in return or something. So like, those are sort of like off my list of trades. And so like, I have a certain nice mint of this, certain nice mint of that, but they're still not really classified as grails. And so I've approached a couple people and vice versa. And, anyone that wants to trade a Walt either wants Secret Rare Spidey, or they want like 4 or 5 UR Steamboats. Granted, like I get it, or Marvel Comics 1, like they're trading a grail, they want another grail. So yeah, it's like, if I really want him, this other strategy I was taking is to try and sell off enough stuff to get like another UR Steamboat or another UR Spidey. And then I've got an extra that I can use as part of a trade with maybe this other collection of stuff that I've got, a couple low mints of other not as significant items. Maybe that might look attractive to somebody that's got 8 Walts. He's not going to do it.
You gotta team up to give him a deal. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Interesting. And so like my question to you guys is like, should we start specializing? So as an example, like if I'm not a whale, right? I'm somebody who's maybe got 150,000, worth or dollars worth of collectibles. Let's just say hypothetically, should I shift into like a market? Should I be like, listen, I want to be in the Spideyverse, or I want to be just a Mickey Mouse collector, or, I want to be a Star Wars collector? Because I think what's happening now is there's so much stuff coming in the app, and people are just like selling one thing and getting another thing, and they're not really gaining that much value. Because let's just be real, when a new collectible drops, all those special mints are available. Once it's kind of been taken offline, then it's a saturated market, and you're going in and you're paying premium for those mints, and you have to wait a long time before you could probably see some return. So I guess, like, is that a smart strategy for newbies, or for people that don't have, the collections that you have?
Yeah, you're touching on something that I actually addressed, I think yesterday or the day before. I've had people ask me, okay, we've got golden moments here, we've got Steamboat, and we've got this new stuff coming in. We've got the new drop this weekend coming in. And so which do I buy? And it's like, not financial advice. The answer is yes. Like, you know, when it comes to the Disney and IP, like I'm considering, I know there's already like kind of arguments about, are these going to be FE, FA, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're seeing Goofy, Minnie, Donald, you know, all these guys for the first time, regardless of the tag, to me, my personal views, they're FA because it's the first time we've seen these characters as NFTs. Right. So for me, they hold a lot of value. So yeah, I'm going to try and buy some of those. If you're newer though, at the same time, Golden is a massive investment. Like it's the first of the first. So like, that's a brilliant investment too. And it's funny because I actually said yesterday, you guys, the Disney catalog is so insane. Like this alone can be years worth of content. So they're going to keep hitting us. I mean, look what they did with Golden Moments. We get Golden Moments. We like recovered from that. And then they like slapped us in the face with Mickey like a month later. We're like, oh my God, like what is happening? And so I said, this is going to happen again. And boom, look what we just found out. Spider-Man. Right. Like, this is going to keep happening. So at some point you're going to have to pick a lane. Like, unless you're a massive whale, at some point you got to pick a lane. And, you know, my best advice is just go for what you love and or what you think is the most valuable in your opinion. Do your research. We know that, you know, characters like Spider-Man are very popular characters. We also know that like the Fab Five, you know, Mickey and Friends group are also very popular characters. So it's like, when it comes to Disney and stuff, I don't think you can go wrong, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And I'll toss in there that I think that my personal opinion is with collecting, if you really know what you're collecting and you really focus in, you'll get rewarded, right? So meaning you'll be able to identify, you know, I mentioned this in previous, you know, conversations with you, Chad, identify those key mints, those special mints. You'll know right off the bat because you'll have a minute, 30 seconds, you know, to make a decision, right? To say, oh, that's it. And your instincts will kick in and it'll be like a reflex, right? But you're not going to have those instincts and you're not going to have that reflex if you haven't studied what you're collecting, right? If you don't know what the special dates are, you don't know what the key mints are, you don't know what the value is, all of a sudden someone drops, you know, an ultra rare Mickey at, you know, 800 or 1,000 below floor, which I've seen happen, you know, not that long, you know, recently, then, you know, you got to go, okay, I've been waiting for that moment. And you pull the trigger, right? Because you understand that there's value there and you understand that, you know, that's valuable. So I think I think it's important even for people like me, you know, I guess a whale, you know, it's funny, people use this like term whale, like generally, but I think there's different types of whales. For me, I like to collect things that I like. I like to stack things that I think are undervalued. I think last time I mentioned that I stacked, you know, ultra rare Storm, and I still have 99 right now. I did a trade last night where I lost one because I got a 300 mint Todd, range Todd. So, I mean, you can't, you know, when opportunities come, you got to be able to make moves and have that, you know, have that flexibility. So, but overall, yeah, I have my Storm stack. And I think, yeah, she's undervalued. She's under 500 gems and she's animated. She's ultra rare. She's an important part of X-Men. She's FA Black gal. She's FA, you know, she's very powerful. Yeah. She's supposedly Black Panther, right? So there's all these things that come together, and I really love this character, and I've done a lot of research, but that's me, right? I've done the research, I feel comfortable, I spent the money, and now, you know, I may reap the rewards if there's any, or I just sit and wait for the, you know, wait for anything to happen, and maybe nothing happens, right? Like that's just the way collecting is. Like you can't expect everything to move up. But for me, I think doing that work or that prep work is really, really important. Is the only way you do that is if you're, you know, you're really deep in that, you know, that collector mentality.
So this is a super interesting point that you both bring up. And I had this conversation with someone earlier, and we were saying that like, if you just get a floor of the grails, let's just say, sure, you can have like a lot of money long-term from them. But if you really want to stand out and develop like a name for yourself or have social clout, if you hyper focus in on like one or two areas or even like certain collectibles, like as an example, like if you went and bought up like 27 UR Mickeys with all special mints, you know, you would like have a lot of rep from that. Or if you just went, I'm a Mickey Mouse collector and like these are all my mints, or I'm a Spider-Man collector and you'd be really like renowned in the Spider-Verse. But if you're just, you know, if you're not a whale like Silicon, you know, in my opinion, I think it's good to hyper focus. And like, for instance, like I know, you know, VEVE Magic, as much as, you know, you have probably a pretty massive collection as well, you're really focused in on Disney now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got over 200, I think around 250 collectibles.
No joke.
And yeah, I found like in the beginning, I was sort of like scatterbrained. Like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. And of course, like I go for the drops. But I've gotten to the point where if I don't get it on the drop, I then decide, talk to myself, like, is this something I really need to go after? Or do I let that go, save the gems, and focus somewhere else?
Right.
And also, I do pay attention to the market. And when I see little dips, hopefully I have some gems ready. And I go, I do have a few mini stacks and I go add to those stacks because it's something that I believe in. In my opinion, there's still a lot of characters that I've had pushback on some of them. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I've done my research and I believe in it, but
Yeah.
if you don't, that's cool. And several of the ones I've gone after have already proven to be pretty good. So yeah, I'm happy with my choices, but that's up to every individual and the research they put behind it. You can't
Right.
just go through this and, well, this person said this and this person said this, like you really have to like see what matters to you, look into it yourself, because every single person you talk to is going to give you something like, well, I'm going after this. And, you obviously have the people that like to shill and pump their own collectibles and all that. But it's like, okay, are they doing it for their benefit, or is it something that they actually believe in? And then you put in your own research and determine for yourself. That's my
I
best
remember,
advice.
I remember us having that conversation where you're like, "Hey, Zombie Cap," and I'm like, "Okay, Zombie Cap's interesting. I like Spider-Man more, but like Zombie Cap's cool." And you're like, "Hey, he's a character. I just saw him in the park." Like, so this means something, right? So there's some
Yeah.
meaning around that. And so you went in and went Zombie Cap, right? So I think that yeah, there's something to that, right? I don't know if you want to elaborate more about that, but yeah, I mean, what does that mean?
Sure. Yeah. So and it's funny too, because I came out of watching the Spider-Man movie, and without giving any spoilers, obviously. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get home, and now that everyone has seen this, I think I saw it like within the first week, but not like the opening day. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see a massive pump in zombie Spider Hunter and Spider-Man Hunter. And I'm like, he's not moving. I'm shocked. Like just based on some, stuff that happens in the movie. I'm really surprised that he's now like he's waking up. At the time, I was looking at prices and I think he was like 80 or $90 when that movie came out. And now I think he's around 300 something. But I was really surprised that didn't just immediately shoot up. And so it's like, okay, what is it about him? He's FA. Why are people not getting it? So it's like, I got a little stack of him. I wish I had gotten more ultra rares because they're really cool for one thing. And yeah, I didn't at the time, but I did get URs on Zombie Cap and commons and a nice little stack. And the reason I went nuts for him was, yeah, I frequent the parks. I'm there 1 to 3 times a month. I'm pretty close to, I'm an hour and a half drive from Disneyland with no traffic. So I get there as much as I can. And Halloween time is my favorite. Like, I love Halloween. So I go as much as I can. I do their Halloween party, which is like a specific event you get a separate ticket for. And I didn't get to see him in person, but like the time, like right after I did the Halloween event, they brought him out. And it's interesting. I don't know why they ended up bringing him out late, but he did the rest of the events. And the dude is so legit looking. Like you have to Google him. He is so creepy. In fact, just today, I had somebody on Twitter say, "Oh yeah, I saw the statue at the park, and it made me so pumped on zombies, Captain America." I'm like, "That's not a statue. That's a real dude." Like, that's not a statue. He's in this meet and greet. He sits in this meet and greet area that's sort of like quartered off, and he sits there and he growls and he walks around and he's like got the whole like to a T, looks exactly like the collectible. So that got me like super amped on him. And then the other thing is, we've had all these discussions about file sizes, right? Like, what do the file sizes mean? We don't quite know yet. We've speculated about Elsa and different collectibles, and just compare the file size of him and Zombie Spider-Man Hunter. Like they're very, very different. In fact, I think his file size is bigger than Elsa's. I don't know why. I'm not tech enough to know the meaning behind it, but that stands out to me as well.
Right. Wow. Man, these are some amazing points. I forgot we were in an interview. I was just listening there and I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I've got to ask questions. Like, what movie am I watching? So I've got a question for you. I've been looking at that Fantasia hat in the back this whole time. And when it started, the Mickey hat was big. Like, I don't know if I shared that story, but I actually bagged the 43 hat. on the I didn't get it on the drop. I got it in the secondary. I bought it for $2,000 and I immediately flipped it for like over, I think I flipped it for over 10K within like 30 seconds. So it was my greatest move I've ever made.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, and that's what got me my low mint partner at the end of the week and everything, but that was like the greatest move. And now it seems as though the hat's kind of like, you know, it's kind of lost its potency with Mickey and partner and, you know, everything else going on. But I mean, how significant is that hat? Like, is that, you know, I know it's from the movie Fantasia, but is that like a massive thing that people should collect?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I can touch on, and then I'm gonna throw it over to Silicon too, because I know he's got his own opinion of it. So I had somebody reach out to me. Somebody found me before I was really even very active in the community at all. So this guy somehow found out that I had a Todd that corresponded with like almost a full match set. He needed this Todd, and he had basically everything else. And so he reaches out to me and he's like, hey, will you trade this Todd? And I was down to 2 at the time. And I'm thinking, I told myself I'm not going below 2. Like, I can't do it. And so I'm reaching out to Silicon and I'm like, all right, this guy wants to trade. And he's like, what's he got? And Todd at the time, I want to say was like hovering around like 1.6 maybe. And the hat was above it. I think it was like a 2-3 floor, something like that. And the guy comes back to me. He's like, I got a 265 hat. And Silicon's like, take it. Take the trade. And this is Todd, come on. Like, this is Mr. Todd. And he's like, take the deal, just do it. And I'm like, well, maybe I could get a little bit something more. And so then what happened is we saw what happened with Todd, right? And I did have this sense of panic. Like, what did I just do? Was that a bad move? And, you know, the hat has recovered a bit. It's still not where.
I got a Spidey comment, by the way, out of that.
Yeah, I got another Spidey Uncommon, which is a great leveraging tool. I like it because I can, those things, you know, Spidey Uncommon and Common, if you floor them, they sell real fast. So it's a great tool to have. But yeah, I did have this kind of like sense of panic, like, oh my gosh, I think I may have made the wrong move. But I got to trust my instincts on it. My instincts are that the hat is important. So going back to my parks knowledge, another thing with the hat is that I don't know about the foreign countries, but the first time I saw was Disney World, and then California Adventure got their own version of what's called Mickey's PhilharMagic. And it's like a 15-minute 3D show. You're in an actual theater. The theater is interactive. Like, there's a water feature, there's lighting features, there's wind features within, you know, it's an experience, immersive experience. And this hat is about Mickey conducting his orchestra, and Donald gets a hold of the hat. And then the hat keeps escaping him in one way or another. And every time it escapes him, it jumps into another film. I'm getting chills talking about that. That's how big of a nerd I am. I get chills even talking about it because it's like so epic. So it goes into Beauty and the Beast and does the Be Our Guest scene, and it's dancing in the scene. And then it's jumping from giraffe head to giraffe head in Lion King. Oh, I can't wait to be king. And then it's in Peter Pan, jumping off of the clock and flying, you know, let's go. I mean, and it's in Aladdin on the magic carpet in a whole new world. It's now been incorporated into Coco and the whole like stage scene in Coco. So they're even incorporating into new films. And it's just, this hat has life, guys. Wow. It's got life. It's magical. And then it comes back at the end, and Mickey gets his rightful spot back with his hat, and he gets the orchestra calmed down, and, you know, Donald sort of gets punished for being naughty. I mean, I see stuff like that and I'm like, Disney doesn't make a lot of wrong moves, if any. And the way they released that golden moment set, there's reasons, right? They gave us all of their separate, which you were saying, Chad, they gave us all of their separate IPs in one shot. They gave us Marvel, Disney Animation, Pixar, Star Wars, Simpsons. They gave us everything, guys, like everything. Like, hi, we're here in the NFT space. Let's give this a shot, guys.
Yeah, and I'll say that that hat definitely comes across significant, especially when I think back to your video, Chad, that you did where you did the research. So, you know, VEVE Magic was just talking about that show, right? But then you think about how Walt, and by the way, Walt's at 42K again. Remember that he's climbing, and then you see Elsa in the hat possibly being connected per your speculation. And I actually 100% agree. I think that, once these things keep rocketing, then people are just going to try to get the hat, just try to get Elsa and Walt. If they got they're going to try to complete that set if they can. And if they can't get that, they're just going to try to get a Walt or a hat or just anything part of the golden moment set. So I think there's definitely a connection there. And then of course, tied with Fantasia and, the statue, right, which is in front of the castle. So that's a pretty important statue. And then we have another statue on the other side at Disney California Adventure, which we haven't seen. It's not the partner statue. It's actually a different statue. We haven't seen anything from that. And I think that from what I heard, not 100% confirmed, it's licensed, I think, through Hallmark or something else. I don't know. But
Yeah,
there's another statue. And I think there was a box set some people shared on Twitter as well of like the partner statue. So anyway, the hat is really part of that Disney magic. Like I've seen the hat and I didn't realize, in our first interview, realize how important that hat was. Talk to people over and over again. And it's like, no, yeah, I go to Disneyland, I get a hat, I get a pair of ears. So that the hat signifies a lot. And for Disney fanatics and fans, I mean, just even regular fans, they'll have memories of going to Disneyland. And you go to Disneyland and you spend money, right? You're like, okay, kids. Normally I wouldn't buy you a whole wardrobe, but I'm gonna go ahead and spend, everyone gets a hat with their name on it. Great, we're all matching, walk around the park. I mean, magical stuff happens because it's a magical place. And I think that, the hat represents magic, right? At the end of the day, and Disney is creating magic.
And it's so funny because we've got some buddies in the spaces, some pretty well-known guys. And one I was talking to yesterday who lives in the UK, he was talking about this last December. He went to Disney World and he said that he's like, I actually don't laugh, but I got emotional watching the fireworks show because he's like, it's like, I don't know if it's something in the colors they use, but it's like they create this story. And he's like, I didn't realize how much animation went into the castle. And he's like, I kind of it was an experience. And it's just, Disney is so good at creating experiences. And it's like, you get into that park and their merchandising department is just off the rails. Like the stuff they come out with, it's constantly innovating the kinds of things you can get. I mean, I've got a pair of Spidey goggles that I wear them and they have lights that change into different shapes. I mean, I've got a Spidey robot toy that it's what a spider bot like you see in the cartoons. Just their merchandising is continuously innovating with this stuff. And you get there and you're like, I want it all. I actually compare them to VEVE. It's like, I want it all, take my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you see Alex say HODL on Twitter the other day when that guy was spotting Disney Golden Moments or whatever? He's like, we have a roadmap. He's like, HODL, all caps.
These aren't McDonald's Happy Meal toys, right? These aren't your McDonald's Happy Meal NFTs.
Hey, he can call them whatever he wants. I'm going to sleep well at night, just snuggling up next to my little McDonald's toy. I'm good.
But I think HODL is important. And then, to really kind of think about, Disney's always been pushing, you mentioned Imagineering. Disney's always been pushing the envelope on, creating that experience, creating that magic for people, right? And so if we see where these are coming and VR and AR, and I think VEVE Magic, you had tweeted something that I retweeted about, these projectors that they're putting in the parks that can project images, right? So imagine the R2D2 Princess Leia situation, right? Boom, you have something. So, I really do think that these NFTs could have more utility. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, even if Disney says hey, we're just gonna start off with these magical kind of experiences regardless. But for the people that hold these, and you had mentioned, we were chatting, someone in the spaces had mentioned that a Disney exec has a Walt, right? To realize that this has a visibility all the way up to that level, right? And even though it's kind of quiet because we don't want to crush VEVE, we don't want to break it, right? We want to slowly give VEVE enough time to build the infrastructure because we're scared of China, we're scared of Russia, we're scared of the Disney fans, we're scared of all the Marvel fans, all the comic fans really rushing in at once. And when I say scared, I mean it's literally you see how much money's pouring in. But what do you think of that, VEVE Magic? What's your take?
Well, the important thing to point out too, this person that has this high exec that has a Walt, he didn't get it as part of the 40 or however many that are held that, we assume some of those go to licensing partners or whatever. He went and bought it. Wow. And if I hear that a Disney exec went and bought a Walt statue, you better believe I am getting pumped and really excited. about those magic moments. I mean, golden moments, I'm sorry. Like,
And magic moments. We could call them magic too. The
they're
magic
magic,
golden
right?
moments. I feel.
And the other thing I wanted to point out too about the utility is, hey, you know what? Maybe when they created these, they didn't think about utility within the parks. But the beautiful thing about Disney, what the people behind Disney continue to do is they want to honor Walt's legacy. And Walt's legacy is Disneyland will never be complete. So maybe they didn't think when they first released these, but maybe they're like, hey guys, let's have a powwow. You know what? We're seeing how much everybody loves these. We're doing all this new stuff with metaverses and all that. Like, how can we do something more with these? Like, maybe it hasn't been talked about, but I'm guessing there's going to be conversations that they haven't already had in
I'm
terms
sure
of,
they're noticing the money coming in, right? Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, when you have $40,000 wallet and you sell one, that market fee goes back to Disney, right? So I'm sure they're paying attention, going, even though it's small right now, but they're like, what is this emerging thing over here? And they're paying attention, realizing that they're part of this movement, right, with NFTs. And I think that maybe we won't get the Disneyland Castle and Tinkerbell, and maybe I won't get the Club 33 dinner, but we were we were at on the Spaces, and we did have an intern for Disney on there, and he mentioned that and it's a good point that Disneyland does these like days for fans, right? So we could have like a VV golden moment day, or Steamboat Willie, everybody, right? All VV NFTs day at Disneyland, and they're open to that kind of stuff. So I don't know if VV Magic, you have any take on that?
Yeah, they have like hosted days that they sort of put on, and there's also unofficial days that communities get together. There's Pride days, there's all sorts of, there's Dapper Dan days, there's there's days that are unofficial themed activity days, and groups of people meet up, but that Disneyland does support. It's not like a mob of people shows up and they're like, no, we don't want any of this. I mean, getting back to the pin traders, it's like these guys will meet up at like and get their briefcases out of all their pins, and they'll sit there and have like a pin trading fest. And that's not like a specific Disney event, but yeah, Disney's going to support it. Look, it's bringing them more income. Like, why would you not? As long as people are behaving, why would you not support it? They're putting money and energy behind these fandoms because it's only good news for them.
And can you imagine, let's just say 10,000 VV fans rushing Disneyland with their phones, taking pictures in 3D, with their shirts on that say VV, and
they'd be like, what are these people doing on their phones the whole time they're here? Like, this whole group of people gets together and they're all on their phones doing all this weird stuff. I get looked at so sideways so many times when I'm at the parks, because like I go and I'm like trying to take a picture, and they're like, oh, okay, get your kids in the picture. I'm like, no, I don't want them. I'm trying to put Spider-Man next to Spider-Man. And they're like, what? I'm like, you'll get it. Don't worry. You'll get it later.
You'll get it in 5 years from now when we've already made the millions.
They look at me like I'm a total nut job. I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I'm always projecting things in augmented reality, and like I'll be at a mall trying to do things for YouTube, and people are just staring me down like, what's wrong with this person? They think it's like a Snapchat filter, and I'm like, no, this is $100,000 NFT. Like,
yeah.
But I'll never forget the moment I got partner in my vault. Like, I remember like I snagged it on the secondary, and I was just thankful that I could even get one at the time.
Yeah.
And I just never forgot that moment. Like when I saw it in my like app, I was like, no, this is different. Like, this is massive. Like, this is, there's even people now, I think they started like Club 33, the Discord group. Yeah. And it's pretty serious. Like, I was, teasing with it, checking it out. And these people are like, it's no pump and dump. They're legit, like just talking about the significance, going into major detail. Like, so, I you could tell there's like almost like a momentum that's like unforeseen. And I think it has the highest market cap on VV right now. I think it's like $150 million market cap already, which is like insane to even consider that, right?
I love it. I mean, yeah, people are going to their corners, they're picking their spots, and I'm part of that group. It's cool to kind of see people come together and get excited and rally around what's going on. And this is exactly what we were talking about, right? Like, I'm sure there's a Spidey Secret Rare group you're part of, right? Where you guys are like, yeah, Spidey Secret Rare. You guys are talking about Spider-Man, right?
What's the take on Wally? because I feel like Wally's been brushed over quite a
Poor
bit.
Wally.
Poor Wally. And I know like
He's so cute.
he's cute. And I'm wondering, is there like some kind of meaning potentially behind Wally that is unforeseen yet? Because I feel like people just trample over Wally. Like it's almost like the last one to get in the moments.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Again, I'm going to go back to, I don't think Disney does anything without purpose. I think
Right.
there's definitely motive behind it. Somebody a while back had said, have you guys ever watched the movie Wall-E? Because it's really interesting. It's sort of a futuristic take of what our world could be like if we kind of keep using the earth and abusing the earth in the way we do. And, you know, Wally's sort of like the hero that saves the world. And I don't know, is that part of it?
Right.
The funny thing about Wall-E too is I believe, fairly certain, it is the only movie where you see the engine of the Pixar truck. The hood is open within that movie. And so that's just an interesting little tidbit.
Like you said, there's definitely a purpose there. Like I feel like at the end of the day, just collect and just hodl, because there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't even know about yet, and people are flipping these things too quickly.
And one of the days that all the dots are going to be connected, and we're just going to be like, oh, you know, like
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be a moment where everyone's like, well, I feel sheepish, you know?
Yeah. So how much money like do you think these can continue to rise to? Like, do we still think there could be like a 5x or a 2x or a 10x, like, you know, or more than that? Like, where are we sitting right now? Like, because the one thing that always comes to my mind, I'm like, there's more and more collectibles dropping all the time, but there's only so many grails that can drop. Like Disney's pretty much in the golden moments launched their iconic brands and like significant NFTs across the board. Like we're never going to see another Walt and Mickey, I presume. Right. So it's like, you know, do we see some of these things start to even out over time, or do you think like this could be a major rise still? Like what's, because I was wrong. Like I thought that some things were going to go up and some things were going to level out or go down. I literally thought that because I was like, I didn't expect this type of mass saturation in the app. So I thought like grails would continue to appreciate. My philosophy was things that matter will matter more and things that don't matter will matter less. But at this point, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, because I could have closed my eyes and bought hundreds like lumpy space princesses and I would have been good.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case with this set. I think they're all going to sort of elevate eventually over time together. But what's your take, Silicon?
Yeah, I mean, I see the golden moment set as connected, right? So you see Walt at 40K, you see the set rise with it, right? So it's pretty significant. You know, if you think, you know, just we're all speculating here, but if you think Walt's going to be worth $1 million someday, for example, then is it out of reach to think that the whole set could be worth $1 million someday? Meaning
I heard
that
somebody say that.
right?
I heard, that was the first time I heard. I heard some person said, you know, we've all talked about Walt being $1 million, but I think every single golden moment standing alone could be $1 million. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so well, what I was thinking was more like the whole set is $1 million.
No, this person was saying each individual one. I'm like, I'm here for it. I don't know, but I'm here for it.
I mean, it's possible. I think the big thing that we need to see here is that, you know, when you compare this to ETH again, and as we go to immutable and as we're connecting up ETH wallets, people are looking at these NFTs and they're laughing, right? We saw a tweet from Pranksy, I think a couple of days ago, say, hey, you know, VV, can I like buy some of these gems without going through 1,000 hoops, right? Like, so you got someone like Pranksy knocking on your door, and then you see Dr. Profit saying, hey, I'll introduce you to a gem dealer. But you know, you got someone like Pranksy that wants to make a move in VV, or even is just tweeting about it. You have to really kind of pay attention to that, because that guy has 300,000 followers, right? So he's got 300,000 followers that, like, you know, copycat the Pranksy move, and I feel like I got a little bit of followers that try to copycat my moves, and I'm just a little dude in VV, right? So, you know, you kind of think about you know, the significance of people like a Pranksy. You look at things like even the comics, right? You look at how cheap they are. When I say cheap, you know, how inexpensive some of these grails are, right? And I'm not going to point out any significant ones, but we all know which ones are important.
You know,
right?
you know.
Right? Like, do your research. But you know, yeah, some of these things are going for $50, $60, $70. Even the first release of VV Comics that first week right? I think there's a significance to that. And there's, kind of like the golden moments, that was the first week of comics, right? And so people aren't making these full connections yet. And that comic market is still evolving. But what I'm seeing is people are stacking a lot of comics. Like they're like, I've got 700 comics. I have 1,000 of these. And I'm like, what, like, am I like that behind? Like, am I not stacking enough? But, it's just, it was different times for, different strokes for different folks kind of thing. And so, yeah, I think that we're seeing the demand outpace the supply, and VEVE's trying to build everything in the background to crank it up, and then according to the plan, right? So, and then we're seeing their plan with like some of these things that come out that are tied to actual shows on Disney Plus, and there's all these connections, and like there's so much Spider-Man stuff on here, right? Like, so it's like Spider-Man this, Spider-Man that, Spider-Man out of the grave, and then so you look at things like that, and you realize how many fans there actually are for this, and there's a so yes, I think that the market will continue to pump. I think more money will come in. Personally, I think it's an easy 5 to 10x from here, and that sounds very lofty, but I think just based on the demand, and then once we're valid as real NFTs, right? Because again, we were talking about that last time. People are like, "Oh, you're not a real NFT." We are a real NFT, right? We're on the blockchain. Soon as people can connect to those ETH wallets and just buy stuff, I think it may make it easier, because people that are buying stuff in ETH don't think of dollars, right? They don't think of buying this in dollars. They think of buying this in ETH. And if you look at a significant, any of the golden moments, let's just say even a Walt, which is a significant piece. Now ETH is down. I think it's like 2,500 last I checked or something like that. But even in ETH, what is that grail? Probably, the highest market cap of the marketplace, worth, and it's still fairly, it's still under a Bored Ape, right? Here you got a Bored Ape that, the floor is, I don't know what it is right now, but let's say it's, 200 to 300 grand, somewhere around there in that range, or it bounces somewhere around there. So there's some significant movement that still needs to happen, in my opinion, and that takes time, and that's good, and it's natural, and it's happening organically, and I think that's great. That's what I like to see. I don't like to see people pump and dump and people like rush in. So the longer, there's a saying like time in the market beats timing the market, right? So just hodl, right? Like literally just hodl. And even with I look back at my 150 Tods, right? Would it have been better to just walk away and lock out my Tods and like start over? Well, there's something to be said for that, right? That would have been that would have been pretty significant. But at the same time, I'm participating in like the golden moments. I'm in Steamboat Willie.
How much fun are you having?
I'm having a lot of fun, right? Yeah. So and I tell my kids, hey, check this out, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's VEVE again, Dad. But this is our future, right? The way I see it. And it's a significant investment. It's a new space. The utility is still being introduced. It's just really exciting times. Like we're on the frontier here. And I just want to like tell people out there that are looking into this, or that may be concerned at the prices and stuff, just like, do it at your level, right? Do it at what you feel comfortable with. Like, I'm not saying go out and buy a Walt tomorrow, because there's plenty of people that are already doing that. I don't have to say that, right? I don't have to say go out and buy anything, really, because the market is showing you what's happening. And I think when we get more transparency, once we're finally done on immutable, there'll be tools that'll show us what transactions have completed, what people are buying things for, and there'll be people will have more confidence in the market. And I think that we're seeing that. And then by the way, we're not talking about OMI, but OMI is exciting as well. We saw in the last couple of days it jumped 25%, right, from the lows, and crypto's had a hard time, right? ETH is again down to 2,500 or whatever it's at, and that's from the highs of almost 5,000, right? So that's a half. But the people that I know that are into crypto, what are they doing? They're like, oh yeah, I bought another Bitcoin, I bought more of this, I bought more of that. So they're going to town, right? They love these sales because they just dollar cost average. And I think there's something to be said for dollar cost averaging, especially if you see a dip. It's like, oh, well, yeah, take advantage of the dip, right? I think VEVE's been really well insulated from this, which is kind of cool to see. So, like there's crypto and then there's VEVE, right? And it's like, well, why are these NFTs insulated? Why is there so, because, it is a mass market product, right? So it's not just crypto people that want these things, right? It's everyday people. So I can get someone off the street, so to speak. I can show them the app. They can get excited and go, yeah, I want a piece of this. And they can go buy it on their phone, no problems. I don't have to teach them how to set up a wallet. I don't have to teach them how to do anything. I don't have to worry about them locking themselves out, and they can go open a ticket or whatever. So like we're in a unique spot where we get to kind of ride both sides, the excitement of NFTs with the the platform of VEVE, which we still don't even know all the possibilities. We haven't talked about games. We haven't talked about AR. I think that they're going to drive people places, meaning you think of Pokemon Go, right? And you think of going and finding things, right? Well, can you imagine VEVE and going to track down collectibles, right? Like, okay, if you go to this store on this day, you get the special collectible, right? And they're able to drive the market, right? So they're minting collectors, they're driving, they're literally creating these new collectors, and they're driving them places, right? So like I'm buying all these DC direct statues and all this stuff. Like that, would that have happened without VEVE? Absolutely not. Like I wouldn't have been going to comic stores, I wouldn't be going to toy stores, I wouldn't be stacking up toys and trying to match physicals with my digitals, right? Like there is a whole thing happening here, and the industry is taking notice. And then you see like Jeremy Padawar coming up on the spaces, kind of like, just congratulating the team on Disney. And then, they're talking about these digital toy clones. I mean, that's crazy. Can you imagine buying a toy and then getting the clone NFT and then having this interoperability between the two? I mean, the world's shifted, right? And I think that we're in exciting times. Like there's so much possible utility here, and we're just literally getting started on this. And like no one's here yet. What are we at? 1.3, 1.4 million people or accounts. So there's so much more to come for VEVE, and it's pretty exciting.
Wow. Well, I love talking to you both. And one question that's been on my mind is the metaverse. What's going on? Disney's making their metaverse. We have their best licensed NFTs. I mean, what's the connection? I mean, I know there's still like some discrepancy, there's still some FUD, but I'm like, this just doesn't add up. Like, why are we getting these sensitive IPs and there's a metaverse going on in the background?
I'll put my 2 cents in real quick, and I'll let VEVE Magic put her 2 cents in. But I'll just say that there's a plan, right? Just like we've seen with the rollout of this IP, there's a plan. We saw Disney partner up with Facebook, and we mentioned that on the last interview with the Thanksgiving Day Parade, and how they had this really cool battle scene, right? And then, can you imagine walking into into Disney parks and seeing things, right? In AR, right? So here you go. I got my Apple glasses on now. Boom. I'm in a different world. There's a whole different experience that I get because I have this technology, right? And maybe because I have an NFT of something, maybe I get a better experience. Maybe I see different characters. Maybe I get to save things. Maybe I get to take pictures. I don't know like what the future utility is, but I do know that it's exciting times. People go to these parks for experiences, right? People go, they want that, we all want to, we're already doing it now in VR chat in the spaces. People are rallying up and meeting in VR chat, and we're trying to create the VEVE-verse. But I think that Disney's got a plan, right? Again, they're always pushing the envelope on technology. So why would they stop now, right? That's always made them so relevant. So I think that it's exciting, it's magical. Even the shows that you see, like VEVE Magic was mentioning, where you see the projections on the castles, and they use these projectors in a wild way, and you watch these shows, the fireworks, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. I'm fully immersed.
Overload.
Yeah. So I mean, what we're talking. I mean, Disney. This is what Disney loves. They create this experience. People want experiences, and they're getting them. They're getting them, and they're getting experiences for their fandoms. So I'll let you, VEVE Magic, get your take.
Yeah, I've got an example of how I think they're really good at tying things in. First of all, I'm going to say that Imagineers are like a different breed of humans. Like these people are phenomenally gifted. Like they just think they're not even in a box. Okay. Like they're like, there's no box around to think outside of. Like they're just phenomenal at what they do. And they think so far out there and in advance of the rest of us. And so I think they're 10 steps ahead of us. But I also, yeah, I think Disney is smart enough to put the connections together, put the pieces together, have everything flowing the way it's supposed to flow. Are they going to tell us everything they have planned? No, but I'm not really scared or worried about that. I'm not worried about the whole, like, well, they're going to create their own product. These going to have their own product. What's going to happen to our NFTs? Like, I'm not worried about that. So like an example of that is this drop we're getting with Mickey and Friends. And we had the teaser of Minnie first, and we, found out that we had all these other characters, which I saw when I first saw the NFT of Minnie. They did it on Polka Dot Day. And so everyone's like, oh, we're getting Minnie. And I'm like, I think we're getting all the characters. It doesn't make sense that we wouldn't get all the characters when it says Mickey and Friends, for one thing. Also, I noticed her artwork. So her artwork ties to a more current show. The more current show is like shorts that are on Disney Plus. And what's funny and unique about them is they're not like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. These are more like adult geared, almost like kids enjoy them. But I mean, I'll visit with friends and, kids are asleep and we're sitting up laughing our butts off watching these shorts because they appeal to our humor so much. So you've got these NFTs that look just like these characters. Then you also have a ride in Walt Disney World that uses the same characters. It's a very forward-thinking ride using the trackless systems. It's very similar to like Rise of the Resistance and the technology they used in there. I've been on it in Florida. It's adorable. It's very immersive. You feel like you're in the cartoon. And guess what? They're building the same ride in Toontown at Disneyland, and it is opening soon. Wow. So I'm seeing a lot of puzzle pieces here, guys. I've seen a lot of connections. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things. And then the same day that VEVE tweeted that we were getting this drop, that Disney put out a cutesy little picture of Mickey and Minnie using exact same artwork. It wasn't like the classic Mickey and Minnie. It was the same artwork of these little, more rough around the edges looking guys who I love. So the point of that is there's a lot of stories being told here that are all connected.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And one thing that gets me excited, I'm like, what if we can rock around in like these collectibles as like our avatar skins? And then what if you are paired up with like, I don't know, like R2-D2, you have both the Star Wars sets, and now you can be like, have the actual color of R2-D2 instead of it being gold. Like there's so many possibilities that have not even come to fruition. And the thing is, there's so many crypto investors and just like people trying to make a quick flip and get out. They're not even realizing the magnitude of what's about to be unleashed. And what happens, like, we talked about Disney and Facebook now kind of joining forces, and all these massive blue chips are here on VEVE. And it's like, who's not to say that these are like the major NFTs that are now interoperable in the future in these metaverses? Obviously there's so many roadblocks and steps to get there, but I'm like, these are the potential possibilities. So
we haven't even gone into merchandising yet. I mean, I was talking the other day about, for all these pin collectors, what if you can get an NFT pin and either, they get your email address, or you can go to the park and you can pick up your physical to match, or ears, or, like, it's just the possibilities are endless,
Right.
And Disney's so good at merchandising, right? Like that's their thing, right? They invented it, right? They invented merchandising. So, if there's a way, they believe in channels of revenue, right? And so if there's a way, they're gonna splash in and take advantage of it, of course. And if it makes their collectors more excited about the fandom, right? The characters and the experience, yeah, of course.
Utility. Utility makes them more money.
Right. Yeah. What scared me the other day? I was looking up Disney golden moments and I couldn't find any other NFTs. So then I looked up like golden statues at Disney, and it was like Dumbo, Tinkerbell, Woody, Buzz Lightyear. Like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like there's still so much to come. Like, I'm like, okay, we did it. We won. But I'm like, wait a second. Like there's still,
I'm not ready for that.
I know. Like, I don't know how I'm going to keep up.
And I don't know if we'll see any more golden. Maybe we'll see a secret or a drop. Who knows, right? But if you look at those golden moments, they really stand out. And it was the 50th anniversary of Disney World, and there was 50 statues, right? And so you can go see pictures, like you said, online of all these different statues. but like it does stand out, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see another golden moment, if that was just it, that was the golden moment. And maybe we'll see, like, on the next anniversary of something, the diamond moment, or the whatever they want to make, right? Because we've seen that, right? Like every anniversary they have a different theme, you get a different shirt, you get a different jacket, everyone matches up for that, they sell more merchandise. So, I wouldn't be, I mean, Disney doesn't have to, right? Like, why do they have, so, I mean, yes, those characters are still going to come, obviously, but like, are they going to come in golden moment form? So if we don't see them, and we don't really know, does that make those golden moments even more value, and makes them stick out even more, right? So yeah, it's tough decisions, right? If you're on VV right now, like, what do you do? I mean, and for me, it's just like, well, there's pieces that really stick out to me that that I go after. But I mean, you can see it by the prices on the app. Like, what do people want?
Right. VV Magic, what are you most looking forward to other than the NFTs that have already dropped for like Disney stuff?
In terms of like Disney stuff,
Yeah.
really excited for Pixar.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really excited for more Pixar stuff. Obviously everyone's excited about Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's one of my predictions. I just don't see how we don't get a May 4th something. I just don't
Shout
see
out to Gammaverse.
Oh my God.
You called
This
that?
video,
Yeah, yeah.
epic.
Our
Yeah.
creator. Yep.
Yeah, I love that video. Yeah, I just don't see, and Vivi's really good at it. Granted, I think it's probably already in the roadmap, but they're also really good at like listening, and people are going to be so mad if they don't do it. Right? And they don't have to. They can do what they want. It's their stuff. But I just, because of the fandom and everything, and how many people are going to be, how many of these avid Star Wars fans are just going to be scouring the internet for Star Wars related things around that time? Right. And if they all find out that there's going to be a Darth or whatever, dropping for May the 4th, they're gonna flood. Like, they're gonna flood in.
Yeah. And the one thing that I find was so funny was David, you always under projected how many users we'd have. I don't know if you remember him, but like last year he's like, we might have 60,000 users by X point. And then we had like over 1 million, which was like, 20X of what they expected. And then now he's like, we're going to do $1 billion in revenue. And I'm like, okay, is this 20 billion? Because you under projected the last time. So what, how many damn users is possible, right? I mean, I think 10 million is very possible for this year. I mean,
I'd love to know what the conversation was about Disney, and Disney like, okay, on this date, we're going to release our first like actual promotional thing. Like, I wonder if he's like, please wait. Like, not yet. We're not, please don't do it yet. Give us a little time. Like, I just cannot wait for when they actually say something. And maybe it's not until we get the metaverse, who knows? Right. But it's going to be big when it happens.
What a transition we've been in. I'll never forget seeing Todd at retail and going to bed at night, and being like, oh, there's still 6,500 left, and seeing things slowly sell to now I can't even get a drop if my life depended on it.
No.
What a transition.
Inventory is king, right? And that's really it. And it's harder and harder to get inventory, right? So that's why I think we see more action on the comics. There's lower prices to stack. But even some of these collectibles you look at and you're like, and I won't call out any, you can see them on the market. They're season 1, they're the first of something, or they're, the first of a series, or a brand. And you're just like, okay, yeah, I get it. People want to, fast track towards the other things, but there's some value in the market, and that's what's cool. There's always value in the market. So when I go look at a drop, I go, okay, what are people doing in the market? They're going out there chasing the market, but like what's being dropped right now? What prices are being dropped on certain collectibles? And sometimes that's when you can get a deal on stuff, right? So
right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are they're really they're still scared, especially the new people coming in, and so they're really trying to follow leadership. It's like they probably see something and they see an FA and they see it cheap, and their gut tells them like, well, I should buy this because it's cheap. But then they're like, well, why is nobody else buying it? Like, I've encountered that quite a bit myself, of like, well, why is nobody else seeing it as valuable? I mean, everyone talks about FAs, You know, why is nobody going after that? And so it's like everybody's always chasing the next thing that is, you know, being talked about, and then that thing goes up, but all these other stay. And it's like, you know, there's money to be made everywhere. I mean, you know, is a certain character FA going to be worth more than another type of, you know, genre of something, you know, like a Spider-Man versus a Tokidoki, you know, like, yeah, certain things are going to be worth more than the others, but like across the board, most FAs that are sitting down at pretty reasonable levels are undervalued. Like there's going to be value in all this stuff. And so I think people need to like trust their instincts a little bit more. Like I'm really starting to follow my instincts more and more and get more comfortable, but it's taken time. It's taken a lot of time, even with great leadership. I mean, I've had Silicon's, you know, hand pulled in mine basically the whole time. And he's, and you know, the other great advice I've heard is you get comfortable being uncomfortable, because none of these decisions feel super, super comfortable, but just, if you've done the research, believe in what you've researched.
It's amazing that you say that, because, you know, if I would have been more convicted in my own thoughts and patterns from the beginning, like I would have a way bigger vault evaluation. But because when I believed in something and somebody else didn't, and like you said, you don't see it pump for a month, you're like, well, guess what? Like, I think maybe I need to move on. But now, like looking back, I'm like, man, all the things that I predicted are now like soaring.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, well, what else do we know that's still here? And it's like, you know, I was thinking about Joker the other day, and I'm like, I know that's a huge character. I mean, that's a massive movie that came out. It's like one of the best supervillains in the world, like most popular. And I'm like, it's just a matter of time. Wonder Woman, wait for China, wait for Japan. So like, these are the convictions, you know, that people need to start making. And there was an interesting person that wrote on my comments. He was like, well, everyone was chasing Steamboat at 3 to 4K entries. Like I was stacking Wonder Woman's at like $200. And I mean, it's just those kind of convictions. But at the time, Wonder Woman was like no more than 220 when Steamboat was flying, and this person was in the background stacking. And look at him now, right? Or her. So it's just amazing, you know, what you're saying here, because, you know, Silicon's a perfect example of somebody that did stay convicted.
I know. Props, you get all the props in the world. Man, he told me all the way, like, you know, but his advice also, which was wonderful advice, was do what you're comfortable with. This is what I'm doing, but do what you're comfortable with. So I look back and it's like, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I would have made the same decision. Like, I mean, obviously knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have, but you know, I just, that's the decision I would have made, because I didn't want to overextend myself. I'm not in a position where I would feel financially comfortable doing that. So I did what I felt I was comfortable with. I was looking to, you know, make investments in something that could potentially, you know, make more money than just my money sitting in the bank and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like I got to still put food on the table. So I did what worked for me. And so I have to like give myself a pat on the back for that, because from what I invested, I'm up a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could have done things differently. I could be way higher than I am now, but that's okay. Like I'm still in a great position. And a lot of us that are here now are in great positions. And so, you know, I feel like people need to stop with all the comparing. We're not all going to be whales. We're not all going to see things the same, and just get comfortable being uncomfortable and find, you know, what makes you happy, what you feel passionate about, and stick to that and trust your convictions.
Right.
You're kicking ass. I mean, you got a full golden moment set. You've
Yeah.
got, you know, more than 10 Spideys, right? Or I don't know how many Spideys you got. You know, you've got a nice stack, right?
And that was one thing I was uncomfortable with, was the ultra rare Spider-Man. I actually like consulted with you. I bought him, I want to say he was before Goldens, and floor was like right around 2.2. And I hadn't spent like that kind of money on any collectible in the app. And I saw an auction for 1.9. And I was like, I feel like I need this piece. And it was just me and one other guy bidding on it, and I was bidding on it in Target. I'm in like the prescription drug aisle, and I'm like, gotta get this. And I like was shaking when I won it. And I won it by like a fraction of a second, and I was shaking. And I then get home, I'm like, well, now I gotta pay for this thing. And so like I had to sell stuff and, you know, put the gems together and pay for it. But that was, I trusted my gut on it. And it's obviously proven to be a great investment. And Golden's was the same thing. As soon as I saw it, I said, I don't care what it takes. I have to have the full set. And I made mistakes. I thought the market was going to do what we had typically seen the market do. I thought Walt was going, everything else kind of did what I thought it was going to do. and I got those, and I got some on drop. With Walt, I thought he was gonna pump, 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 and then he was gonna level out. And so he pumped real hard that first day. And I went to bed thinking I'm gonna wake up and he will have leveled out to somewhere in the 2-3 range. I woke up and he was 6K, and I'm like, oh my God. And I said, I have to have him. I have to have him. I have to have this set. I believe in this set with everything I've got. And I did what I had to do. I got my credit cards out. I had them shut down because the fraudulent suspicion, but I got it. And it was an emotional experience in multiple ways. I was stressed out. I didn't know if the floor was going to keep jumping because everything was selling like that. It's like you couldn't even keep up with it. And so when I finally got him, it was an emotional experience. Wow. And I don't regret it at all. And I did sit there like, because then it sat there at kind of like the 6K range for a while. And I'm like, God, did I make a mistake? You know, I did have that one bit of that. And then, yeah, no regrets.
Wow.
Hodl, baby.
Yeah. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I was so passionate about that NFT. And first of all, what a cool story for you. And I mean, especially somebody that's so backed up by Disney. I mean, it's just so neat to hear that, like, you know, you would have went to the ends of the world to get that NFT. And I did a video about it, and I did reviews a lot at the beginning of this channel, but not so much anymore. And I was just so passionate about it that I was like, I have to put something out, you know. And looking back now, I mean, there's a lot of speculation about Club 33 and what that's about. And for people that don't know, would you guys mind just sharing a little bit about like what Club 33 even is? Because I think a lot of people that, you know, live in Canada or other places in the world don't know really too much about it. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I again wrote down a few notes just to make sure I don't mess this up. But so 33 is a private dining club within the Disneyland Resort. It was open to the public in 1967, which sadly was 6 months after Walt passed. So he never got to experience it with guests and everything. But he wanted a place to entertain foreign dignitaries, royalty, presidents, and have them feel at home. A safe space, right, where they could be kind of private. They're not going to have all the eyes of us normal folk, you know, looking at them. And it was the first location to serve alcohol because, again, he wanted them to just, you know, sit back and relax and entertain and just have that kind of environment. And so it's the first place that Disneyland ever served alcohol, because within the parks, he didn't want to serve alcohol because he wanted it to be a family experience. He didn't want, you know, people get wild. That's since changed a little bit. Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge has alcohol in one location. They have a Oga's Cantina, which is so legit. And now California Adventure also serves alcohol. And then, you know, there's parts of Walt Disney World that also serve. And so it's in New Orleans Square, and it's like on the second level of New Orleans Square. So you can be sitting there and you can like watch Fantasmic out on the water and see a show. And you're like, you're right basically above like Pirates of the Caribbean if you're over at the 21 Royale. So the story of 21 Royale, that's people can buy a dining package to have this multiple course dining experience. That's really cool. It used to be the Dream Suite. And this is another thing that Walt envisioned, but he never got to experience. So he had his little studio apartment inside the park that he would stay at with the family, and the kids would slide down the fireman's pole and they would go experience the parks. But, you know, as the family grew, he wanted more space. And so he wanted to build this larger 3-bedroom apartment. And he passed before it was completed. And so it used to be the Dream Suite, and it still is. It's still the Dream Suite. But you know, you can't stay there. So it's just another kind of like iconic piece of history. Wow. But you know, 33 has since expanded in terms of you've got it at Disney World, you've got it at Tokyo, you've got it in Shanghai, but you're not necessarily a member in all the parks. Like if you have a membership here, you might have certain access to Walt Disney World. You certainly, if you're a member here, you can also do the California Adventure side, which is called 1901, which is Walt's birth year. And it's another like lounge experience for 33 members. But it's just really cool because it's super secretive. It's very, very hard to get into. It's like you've got to email and be on, you know, some like, you know, 10-year waiting list. You know, there's lots of rules, but it's just this very cool, like secretive society that everyone's like wants to know more about, wants to be a part of. And it's just like really iconic Disney history, which is why we talked about a 33 mint being pretty cool.
No kidding.
I've been
Wow.
on that 33 waiting list for like 15 years. So anyone from Disney watching, I'd love to, see if I can get to say hi.
Move up the ranks a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe get there before 20 or 25 years. It'd be awesome.
And that's so funny too, is I got into VEVE with pretty small hopes. All my free time is sort of like Disney centric and focused. And I, told my family, I'd love to get out of this to be able to have a Disney Vacation Club membership. So you like have a down payment, then like monthly. It's like kind of being part of a, what do you call it? Timeshare. It's kind of like that sort of scenario.
Right.
And like, I would love that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I've shifted that a bit. Now my end goal is a 33 membership. And it's like, but how amazing is that? Like, there's a huge difference. 33 membership is very pricey. It's no confirmation on what the price is, but there's certainly speculation, and it's not for the average person's budget.
Right. So just when you made it through the wait list, then they're like, okay. And
you're like pony at the door. You're like, oh,
I don't want to wait another 15 years. I'll pay whatever. Yeah, that's
right.
So cool. Well, any last thoughts on Disney from both of you? I know it's kind of, I want to respect your time, and it's kind of getting a little later in the day, but what for the fans that are watching both of you? I mean, first of all, Silicon's been flying. I mean, I know people have been joining him on Twitter Spaces now. You've got a bit of a following now on Twitter that's pretty decent, and I mean, it's growing like a weed. And I'm sure the same for you, VEVE Magic. So any final thoughts that you'd want to share with everybody?
You want me to go
I'll
first?
let VEVE Magic go first.
I just want to say that, like, I got into this because of Silicon, and I can't even put into words how much it has changed just my life, and there's so much opportunity, and I'm so grateful. And I'm in places that I never thought I would be. I mean, I never thought I would be speaking in public. I've never been in front of a camera. I'm very introverted. The only difference is, like, this is something that I believe in with my heart and soul, and I'm very passionate about it. And so I love the opportunity to speak to somebody about it, because it just means so much to me. And if there's anybody out there that kind of has that fandom and feels that strongly about Disney like I do, or Marvel, or any of these, big brands within the umbrella, there's great opportunity here. And I think, the future's super bright, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm just so excited to see what happens next.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. And I'll just second that. I mean, yeah, this is exciting, right? When I came into VEVE, I saw, I kind of had a vision, fast forward to where things could go. We're starting to see that vision get supported more and more and more every day. And there's more and more people that are so excited. I mean, the excitement level of VEVE, when you get in and you get to play with these NFTs and you start trading. So you got people that are looking at investing, you got people that are looking at just collecting. I'm never going to sell this thing, but it's nice to know that my Walt's 40K kind of thing, And so, the opportunities that VEVE's been able to bring, and I think that was their vision. They wanted to bring these opportunities to everybody, right? They wanted to bring these opportunities to collect these NFTs. They saw, the first early NFT projects in 2017 and said, we could do that better. And they did. They did do it better, and they brought the best IP in the world here. And it's just like, you have all these IPs. We talk about the problem of what do I buy, but it's actually pretty amazing, right? Like, what other place do you see collectors coming together, investors coming together? You have OMI, you have VEVE, you have people that are some people are just into OMI, some people are just into collectibles, some people are dabbling in both. So you have these opportunities, and they're just mind blowing to me that that I'm here, that I found VEVE early enough, and even now it's funny enough, there's still opportunity, and people think, well, yeah, you came in March, you were early, but even if I came in today, right, I could drop some gems down and go make some moves, and you could hit something, get a secret rare, you could. You have a chance, just a fair chance like anybody else. Now we're switching over from the current drop system we've got into a new drop system So I'm excited to see how that rolls, right? Where you've got the waiting room and the lottery, and have MCP points coming, and we have people excited about all that potential. But I mean, again, it's just getting started. So even at 1.3, I see an easy 10x from here. And I agree with you, Chad. Like 10 million by the end of the year, is actually, I think is actually kind of conservative, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, right? I mean, because if you're going at 20 to 30,000 users a day, which is what VV's told us they've gotten ever since Disney, then you're doubling like in 70 days or something, right? So you kind of just do the math and you realize that, like, oh yeah, all these users coming in, all this money, and then you just watch the liquidity coming in the market. The gems being purchased, you can see that it's on the blockchain. Yeah. So it's just very, very exciting. I appreciate you giving us this platform to share our thoughts. Chad, you're amazing. I want to give a shout out to the Twitter Spaces. You guys are always hustling out there. My
Community
VVR
is so warm and welcoming. I wanted to add to that. The community is so warm and welcoming, and it's really an enjoyable experience. And I also want to shout out to our leadership with VEVE, because to be able to have them connect with us, they don't have to do that. I mean, it just, again, gives me even more faith in the product. And I just, the community behind this whole experience makes it all the more worth what's going on right now, and all the more enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so true. Like, I've been in spaces, in AMA spaces, a community driven spaces where the CEO of the company rolls in. I mean, where else does that happen? Oh, and by the way, it comes on stage and tells his origin story. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's just really exciting. Yeah, so shout out to the Twitter Spaces, who, when new users come in and they ask for help, they're there answering questions. Like, they're on the front lines, right? And they're guiding people along, and they're doing their best, right? And then the Discords that are out there, like VV Army, we have VV Army Discord. Shout out to them. You guys are hustling, you guys are learning, and we're getting sharpening the tools, getting better and better. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. The social aspect is the X factor. The social part of VV, the people, make the difference for me. That's what I love, is the people in the community. Like, they are passionate, they are diehard, they are collectors. Whatever their passion is, they're passionate about, and they bring all this knowledge. So I'm happy to contribute however I can, and in these interviews and stuff. And thank you, VV Magic, for pushing your boundaries and getting up here and sharing all the knowledge you're dropping, and sharing with me as well. Because, like, again, would I have picked up the Pixar truck without your influence? Probably not pick up that 113. But now I realize, oh yeah, that's something that it's pretty awesome. So yeah, anyway, thanks to you as well, Chad, and your channel. Again, if you don't follow Chad, follow him. He is a solid channel. I've been following you ever since you and your brother in the basement started, right? Like, I saw that first Todd video, and those early videos that you guys had, and follow the journey, right? It's been a pretty awesome journey, right? If you kind of look back, and to think that March was not even a year ago, man. I mean, it
doesn't make sense.
Wild.
Yeah. And I mean, first of all, huge honor to have both of you here on with me. I mean, as much as I'm giving you this platform, I mean, it's the platform that you deserve. I mean, if anything, I'd like it to be 100K sub platform, so you can get the word out to more people, because people need to hear your voices. So I mean, you're both experts in what you do, and I mean, it's just phenomenal.
You'll get there, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about this today, right? Like, we have basically 10,000 people own these NFTs, but with VV we have 1.5 million users owning these NFTs. So I mean, if you want to talk about the snowball effect, I think we're going to roll over some of these other projects. Not that they're not important, but I just think that we're going to hit the world here with one big storm. So it's amazing. I mean, this Disney conversation has been nothing short of phenomenal. I've learned so much. I'm gonna get all my little hints and write them down before I air it.
Yeah. It makes it nice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for that 113 mint tonight. No, I'm joking. I'll leave that for everybody else.
We've looked.
Yeah,
exactly. But no, seriously, it's been a huge honor, and yeah, look forward to having you back on soon enough.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. It's my honor as well. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.